The next topic today is the reason why you want to do a buyer's consultation for everyone, for every buyer, for every prospect. Before we do that, though, I watched this show called Brain Games. I love that show. Has anyone seen that show? It freaks me out. They like show you one thing, and then they show you it again after they tell you something. You go, wow, I didn't see that the first time. One of the things that they talk about is how to remember things well. And so I thought what we do is we're going to write things down, cross them out, so we'll remember them today. And it'll be ingrained in your mind, and you'll do consultations for all your buyers. Because we're going to start with why we don't, as agents, do buyer's consultations. And I have a list. And you nod if you agree with me. And write it down, okay? And then we're going to cross it out, because we're going to not let that stop us. The first one is we get too excited. When we get a buyer, we get super excited, right? We pick up someone at an open house. We just want to go out and show them properties. We completely forget that we're going to do buyer's consultation. So too excited, we can write that down. And then just scratch that out. Scratch that out. Scratch, Jen. Here we go. Too excited. What I also hear is buyers don't want a consultation. They don't want to sit down with you for an hour and a half and listen about how to buy properties. What do they want to do? They want to look at properties. They actually don't want a real estate agent. They don't. If they can go to eBay and buy a property and not have any problems, they might do that. People tend to shy away from salespeople and they consider us salespeople because they don't want to get pressure, their fear of getting to work with someone and then something going wrong. So I think number 2 is buyers don't want it. So let's write that down and we're going to cross it out. Because I don't think that's true. They actually, after they've experienced a buyer's consultation, they see the value in it. Oh, am I spitting on the microphone? You want to go to B? Is that better? Okay, so let's move on to the third one. Sometimes when we talk about buyer's consultation, we think of signing a buyer's representation agreement, and they're really two different things. The difference is a buyer's representation agreement, yeah, they're signing a contract saying they're going to work with you. They don't have to buy anything, but if they do, they're going to work with you in buying that. What most people fear is you bring up that to the client and then they say, no, but I think that we actually should bring it up. If they don't sign it, it's okay, but at least we brought up the conversation about commission and looking for properties and working with you. So that buyer's consult means buyer's rep. So write that down and cross it out. Okay, here's the next one. You ready? I have to read this one because I made it a little bit longer. Because you enjoy chauffeuring strangers and possible dangerous weirdos around to houses, paying $5 a gallon and seeing 30 properties all over the island, so we don't do it. Yeah, right. And so we do it in the car, our consult in the car while we're driving. A lot of people do that. Don't worry, you don't have to write that down. That's too long. You can write down chauffeuring. But in my mind, if you don't have a buyer's consultation, that's what you're doing, right? You're having a consultation in the car, and you're just taking the chance that this is a regular, upstanding person. And you're putting them in your car and driving them around before actually getting to know them by having the consultation. So now cross out that chauffeuring. And the last one I have on the list is too hard, too much work, too time-consuming, and don't really know how. And that's the reason why we don't do buyer's consultations. And I hope that's not the reason, because as professionals, and we pride ourselves in this company of offering premium services to our buyers, that we will take the time to do a buyer's consultation and learn how to do it. So let's switch topics to a little. Cross that last one off, and then we're going to switch topics for just a bit. What do buyers want? What do buyers want? Because if we know what buyers want, then we know what we should cover in a consultation. Buyers want you to understand their needs. Okay? That's really important, because if you need to understand their needs to be able to provide them solution for their needs. What else? Yes, sir. Rick. They want to trust you. And we heard that from Eileen. Trust is incredibly important. And they need to trust you because they need to trust the information that you're going to provide. Right? I wrote that down as they need an advocate that they can trust that's going to work in their best interest? Time. Right? They want to make sure it's not inconvenient, that it doesn't take all their time. How about the right feeling? I think people buy an emotion. They want the right feeling both with their agent and the property that they're going to purchase. So if we know that that's what buyers are looking for, in a buyer's consultation, what should we cover? All those things, right? Mm-hmm. Right. And what's the benefit to you as an agent to do a buyer's consultation with every client? Okay, so I think it all is combined into one thing. You set the expectations in the beginning. So if you have a buyer's consultation, you're setting the expectations to make sure that you're really educating the buyer, especially first-time buyers, so they know what to expect going forward, and they're not going to have those emotional roadblocks to the sale once they find the right property. What else do we want to do in a buyer's consultation? Or how else does it benefit you as an agent, a buyer's consultation? Yeah, right. I haven't seen it yet, but usually when we get to a crazy market and there's a lot of sales, a lot of leads going on, and we're almost there, we start getting those issues. You know, I was working with so-and-so, and you're not going to believe this. They walked into an open house, and what happened? Yeah. They get excited about the property, Jackie said, and then the listing agent says, you know, if you want, I can write up that offer for you. And they write up that offer, and they call you and say, Jackie, I found the right house. I'm so excited. And you know what? Here's the hard part. They accepted my offer. Jackie comes knocking on my door. She writes her name like 10 times on my door. Like, they stole my client. What can I do about it? And then the good news is she has a buyer's representation agreement signed. So then what we can do is get commission anyway. But really the real benefit to an agent on signing a buyer's representation agreement, or going back to that loyalty, right? And training them when they go to an open house, when they see a property they like, to hand your card or to say, that's my agent, call them, is that you're going to have a loyal client. And they're going to understand how you get paid. A lot of people think we pay you a salary. And did I pay anyone a check? A salary? No, I don't pay you a salary. They don't know that. So they don't know you work for free until there's a closed transaction. So it's important when you have a buyer's representation or a buyer's consultation, you cover that. Okay. What's another thing, another benefit for having a buyer's consultation? I think there's a couple more that we didn't talk about. Educate them about the market and the process. You know, a lot of the times when we're in escrow, people cancel, not because they don't like the property, not because they can't get financing, because they're afraid of the market. We see that anytime there's a big news story and they're in escrow, like sequestration. Remember sequestration? When sequestration came down and they couldn't balance that budget or change a legislation that they're working on, next 2 days we had cancellations on escrow because they weren't confident in the market. If people aren't confident in the market and you don't go over the market with them, that it's the right time to buy in the market, or they're comfortable with it, then that's when you start seeing cancellations. The other thing is, how many people meet a buyer and say, you know, I'm super excited, I'm ready to go, I've been pre-qualified. Lane pre-qualified me for $687,000. So I want to go and find a short sale or a foreclosure or something I can buy at the auction courthouse. We get that all the time, right? We get that all the time. We know that, oh, you're kidding, right? Because you're thinking to yourself, you're going to have to take them through that process. They're going to offer on a few short sales, maybe even get accepted, wait 4 months, find out, wait a minute, it's not going to be that price. It's actually going to be a higher price, where if you have a buyer's consultation, you can educate them on that, so you don't have to go through that whole process. So in essence, you're saving a lot of time. The final one that I have written here is create a memorable experience to differentiate yourself and gain referrals. If most people aren't doing a buyer's consultation or a buyer's representation agreement, and you do, and you cover the things that they want and they need, and you're all on the same page, then you're going to create a memorable experience. And what do people do when they like your service? They refer you their friends. That's what Eileen had just said. So I just want to I should have done this in the beginning. I'm going to do it now. How many people right now do buyer's consultations, sit down buyer's consultations, not in the car, not at the property they're showing, with every buyer that they work with? Okay, that's pretty good. It's like 25, 30%. Actually, that's not good. How many people will, after today, do a buyer's consultation with every client instead of just putting them in the car? A lot of times, you show the first house, and after that house, you go sit down at Starbucks or in the office, and then you do the buyer's consultation. However, you need to do one early on. Right? So I still only saw like 70% of the hands. So the other people are only going to do listings. That's what I'm thinking. No buyers, that's what it is. Yeah. Any questions or comments what you think about buyer's consultations? Rick? Yeah, so Rick's comment is, and I think that's we talked about on the list, buyers don't want that. Sometimes we're thinking the buyers don't want that. Do they need it even though they don't want it? Even the most sophisticated buyers need a buyer's consultation because they need to know what's happening in the market right now, what's happening in that neighborhood. In our world, we persuade people a lot. We may not persuade them to buy a specific house, but we persuade them to hire us. So we need to work on persuading them to have a buyer's consultation. And that's why sometimes you're doing it before showing or after the showing. How do you handle that, Rick, when you run into a buyer and they don't want to have a buyer's consultation? In my role as a broker in charge, I hear about all your buyers. And there's real clear patterns. And I kind of get an idea. Yeah, that one's not going to work. And one of the biggest reasons that a buyer is not going to work, when I hear about your buyers, is because they're not willing to do some of the things that you've asked them that are done in real estate. If they don't want to sit down with you to talk about buying a property, or on the phone for a long period of time to talk about buying a property and what you're going to provide them as a service, they're probably not going to buy. Or they're not going to buy with you. So have that buyer's consultation or move on. The reason we don't move on sometimes is because of what? Let's say that they say, I don't want to do buyer's consultation, just show me properties, and if you show me the right property and you're that agent, I'm going to work with you. Right? But why do we keep buyers like that? Because they don't work with us. So he won't give his phone number. What do we call that? Catfishing? That's new. Has anyone used that term, catfishing? We don't have many catfish in Hawaii. Maybe is that really what it's called, catfishing? All right. I call that, that's a red flag. I call that, put them on a drip program, like our In-Touch system, and go find another buyer. Well, if it comes back after you put them on the drip, but just don't spend your time on it. Or test it. Test it and say, hey, we need to sit down because I got to be able to find the right property for you, and I can't do that unless we sit down and talk. And then if you want me to go find properties that aren't on the market yet, so you can get first shot or not have any competition, then you got to sign up with me. And if you do that, I'm willing to go out and talk to homes that aren't on the market and say, my buyer wants to buy your property. But if we're not going to do that, I'll send you updates, but until you're ready, you'll just get my updates. That direction. You have nothing to lose. Right? And I think we hang on to it because we have one lead. Maybe two. And if we have one or two, we got to hang on to that. But if we get rid of them, then we wake up and we go, I have no leads. And if we have no leads, what do we have to do? We have to work to go get leads. We don't have to spend 4 hours on that one lead. So let it go away so you spend 4 hours in getting lots of leads. Okay. Any other comments or experiences people have had with buyer's consultation? No? All right, so we'll all start doing them.